Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Slim Nation. And my name, of course, is Slim Overton, James Slim Overton. And here today, here today to talk to you about something that most of us all have gone through. Um, the high school days. All of us, again, most of us have had those high school days. And for some of us, it was the best times of our lives, and some of us it's been some of the worst times of our lives, where bullying comes into play. But it was those times when we were really kind of growing into ourselves as young boys and girls, discovering things for the first time. A lot of times, some of the situations you were in were learned outside of the home. And of course, a lot of things you got from home were very important. Your parents trying to lead you in the right way, giving you the best advice they knew how. You must understand too, parenting didn't come with books. Well, now they do, but at some point they didn't have books on parenting. And a lot of times, if you didn't have the clear examples from your parents, and many of us did, even with that, you still had to learn as you went along because it's different for everybody. Anyway, back to the high school. Me personally, in my high school, I went to IC Northern High School, historically Black high school. At that time, it's now like most high schools are integrated, but it's still predominantly Black. But it was some of the best times of my life because I discovered a lot of things, and being raised as the only child, a lot of things I didn't experience that some people might have if they had older brothers and sisters who sort of passed some things down to them that the parents didn't pass down. Uh, Granted, the parents were trying to keep you on the straight and narrow, and some parents were pretty blunt with their children and had those conversations. But during my era, it wasn't a whole lot of that, real candid conversations about sex. When my father would say he didn't want me to have girls be a guest at my house when no one was there, because the only reason he would say, because things happen. Um, things happen. I had kind of an idea what he meant, but it would have helped if we had had that little sit down talk and explain what they used to call the birds and the bees. And a lot of the students or the friends I went in high school with was far more advanced in not only the birds and the bees or sexuality, but a lot of other things. A lot of them had that street knowledge. And I consider myself, I think I was pretty naive. I wasn't the only one. There was a lot of us out there that weren't exposed to a lot. And we were pretty naive and probably would fall for some things that some of the other kids that came up a little differently might have been aware of before I was. And I took most people as good people and trusted a lot of people. And some people were really good at disguising who they were, if they were a true friend or if they had an agenda or motive, or they really didn't like you because of who you were or who your family was, or that you might have had some privileges that they didn't have. But anyway, basically, high school for me it was hard. Some of the subjects learning was hard. We always got the thing from my teachers. I didn't apply myself. I think I could have been a much better student on record as far as being an honor student, but I just did enough sometimes just to get by, and not going that extra mile it depends on the class. If I really liked the class and it was really interested me, I went that extra mile because I wanted that good grade. But some other classes that I just wanted to get through, and never had any problems. I did fail one class out of the 4 years, and that was Algebra 2. And I kind of put that on the instructor because most of the kids in that class failed. Remember I told you earlier, this high school I went to was predominantly Black then at that time. It might have been in my senior year, maybe 2 or 3 whites that went there. That's another story. It should have been more, but that's another story. And at that time, they were integrating the teachers. So they were taking some of the best teachers out of our all Black school and putting them in some of the white school. And they were bringing some of the white teachers to our Black school. And some of them didn't want to come, especially some of the older ones that were set in their ways and they had never experienced being around a lot of Black students. Now, granted, the schools were integrated and they might have had some in their class, but to be in a total Black environment was something that some of them, and this Algebra 2 teacher actually told us he didn't want to be there, but he didn't have much long before he could retire, so he couldn't really, had no say in the matter. But he came over there, and I think it was a matter of lack of being able to communicate with us, because there was some really bright students in that class that failed because he didn't, I'm not going to say he didn't know how to teach, but he just didn't know how to teach Black folks. Granted, there were some exceptional students in there who passed, some of the few, but that was the only class I failed during my whole high school experience, and had to make it up in summer school. And after I made it up in summer school and passed that class, I knew that I had the abilities in Algebra 2, because the one thing, it was in summer school, and you went a little faster in summer school. And I had one of the toughest Black teachers that was known to teach math. And that summer she was pregnant. So we went to school at that time with no air conditioning. She was about 6 months or so, maybe more, pregnant, hot, and she was tough teacher. And it's not like, well, she was tough because she wanted us to learn, but she had a reputation of being tough. And I passed her class. Not saying it was easy, but I passed her class with, I think I had a B average out of there, which the previous year, I could not pass that class under that new teacher. And just like it would be new to us going in a white environment, it was new for him. But he still should have been able to communicate that math better. But anyway, that was the only, as far as education, dark moment I have, fell in that class, and that definitely wasn't acceptable to my dad, who respected. Didn't always, well, he wanted excellence, but he knew some of the limitations I might have had, or if I didn't apply myself, he just told me to do the best I could, but he didn't expect failure. And he got a tutor for me to help me get prepared for that summer school. And the tutor ended up being, years later, I found out she was one of the hidden figure ladies, the mathematicians that was involved in that. You saw the movie, the Hidden Figures, that worked at Langley Nassau. And she was a math teacher, but a young math teacher then that was doing everything to make ends meet. So she was doing tutoring on the side. But lo and behold, she turned out to be one of those mathematicians that was portrayed. Not one of the main characters, but she was one of the ones that was there during the time of Katherine Johnson Yeah, and her name was Dodden. Her last name was Dodden. First name escapes me right now, but but anyway, she was Miss Dodden, and you can look up her Dodden. Maybe I'll come back and give you the first name, but how surprised I was to know that she was a part of that, and she was actually my tutor. And maybe that's why I passed that class. But anyway, going back to the high school, I had a good time. My friends, we enjoyed high school. It was some of the best times of my life. Um, we always joked each other. It was a thing back then in high school when I was there. You had to be prepared to, you had to dress up. We weren't allowed, young ladies, girls weren't allowed to wear pants. Uh, Men, we weren't allowed to wear jeans or sneakers, during the school, except for when gym class or if you were in sports. So we had to sort of be on top of it. So it became a thing where, if you didn't come correct as far as your dress, the joking started. We used to call it joning on each other, playing the dozens. And that was fun. Sometimes we think about it now, you might have just the students came there, couldn't help it, did what they could. They didn't have enough, but it was all in fun, no intention of making everybody feel bad. But, you think about it later, it might have been cruel to some of the ones that couldn't do any better. But that was the way it was. Even some of the less fortunate found ways to come correct because they knew the consequences of not coming there correct as far as you dress. But that was the fun part. We know we had to do our work, going to games and having a good time at the games on Friday nights and the basketball games on Tuesdays and Fridays. I was a player during the basketball season and track season. But going to those football games at night when we could go at night and feel safe. And granted, it was gangs, community gangs that were very territorial back then, but not like it is now. And I just often wonder about kids in high school now, what they have to be concerned about. A mass shooter coming into school and taking it out, whatever problems they have on students. You don't see it happening, or I'm sure it does in high school, but why they go into elementary schools? And I think they have been in high schools, but it seems like it's more prevalent and they're going into elementary schools and shooting up the youngest of our generation. And that's sad. And how can you enjoy your school environment, which you have to study hard, but you want to have a good time too, when you are dealing with a certain kind of bullying, mean bullying, and the fear of someone coming in and shooting up the schools. I don't know if that would have been something I would have been comfortable with, or we would have had as much fun if we had to worry about that. Granted, we had some things we had to worry about, but that wasn't one of them. And that's why I always say that some of the best times of my life were in high school. And I think a lot of high school students are taking advantage of their high school years, their youth, and having a good time too. But it just seems like they're exposed to a lot more, especially with social media, than we were. We didn't have to worry about social media or cell phones being a distraction or anything like that. If you missed the call, you missed the call. But I guess each generation has its issues, it has its problems. I'm not saying some of the problems that students might have had during my time in high school probably went unrecognized or undiagnosed. And some people students that really needed help in a certain area didn't get it because it wasn't something that was widely known. Students might have been put into a category that they shouldn't have been. diagnosed as slow or having some kind of mental incapacities, but really they just had a different way of learning, which we're aware of that now. There's some students learn differently from others, and they have programs to help them learn. But that's why I said each generation has its challenges. It just seems like the challenges nowadays are tremendous for our youth that should not be worrying about things like that. You should not be worrying about is the rent going to get paid, or where's the next meal coming from? Is someone going to come in here and shoot up the school today? Am I safe? Am I going to be bullied to the point where I want to commit suicide? Will my autism be recognized and diagnosed early enough where I can get help or get the proper help? Who knows? But anyway, that's life, and all we can do is just try to be aware and keep up with all the medical technology and the technology with social media, and make sure you're not ruled by social media, that you don't believe everything you see on social media, because everybody seems to be an expert these days. Anybody can start a podcast or a show like this and tell untruths or be misleading about certain things. So anytime you watch one of these podcasts or a show such as this, if we say something that you're not sure of, or if you say something, look up, especially if we are giving something that might be something you may practice or just doesn't sound right to you. Look it up, follow up on what these people say. Even some of the so-called experts, they might have credentials behind or in front of their names. It's always worth checking out, because sometimes even the most learned, there are difference of opinions or about diets and how to treat depression, what route you should go as far as mental health or physical health, doctors and things like that. So you can't always take things for granted because it's on social media. But enjoy programs like this. Enjoy, and make sure you see the relevance in all the shows that you watch. If it means something to you, or if it can help you. If not, don't take it too seriously. That's one of the things we have a problem with this social media. Some things we take a little too serious, and some things can turn into a cult-like situation. With so. Anyway, just wanted to come on here and talk live on the Slim Nation, and as we gear up, I think I'll be doing shows like this, either directly from YouTube or through Zoom. I was thinking about going another way, but it seemed like that's not working out, because I can't get enough Wi-Fi signals for that other actually it's Yard Stream and StreamYard, I'm sorry, seems to be working for other people, but maybe I just don't have the capability here. I'm using a laptop that probably needs some upgrades in order for that to work better for me. But I do have this platform I can use and bring on guests, which I was going to try to use the other way, but I think I'll stay here for the time being with YouTube and do my Slim Nation from there. And don't forget also, I have the Slim Nation One-on-Ones podcast, which will be been talking about for a while, and it's finally coming together, which would be one-on-ones. Have a few out there, be one-on-ones between me and special guests. And of course, we'll come on and do these Slim Nation YouTube channel shows with multiple guests, with certain themes and things like that. And also, don't forget to watch another show, social media show I'm involved with, is Portsmouth Coffee Talk, with my other hosts, Leah Drake Stitt and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. And of course, we post our videos on YouTube, but we do broadcast live every Monday morning at 6:30 a.m. and every every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. On Facebook Live, and then we upload those shows to our YouTube channels. So we're trying to evolve there. It's been on there 3 years now. We should be maybe a lot further than we are now, but we're taking our time, It's, and hopefully we can get your support, get enough financial support to upgrade what we're doing, and be on more platforms so we can spread whatever information we get with the special guests we usually have on Portsmouth Coffee Talk. But if you get a chance, go on our YouTube channel, the Portsmouth Coffee Talk, and look at some of our over 200 videos. And also stay tuned for me on the Slim Nation YouTube channel and the Slim Nation 101's podcast. Some of those, hopefully a lot of those will be live, and then on our channel, Podcast Forever. I like to do the live interviews and sort of unscripted because, to me, it's more genuine that way. We have a pretty good idea what we're going to talk about, but usually we let the conversation flow according to what we're discussing. So join us on that and be a guest on the Slim Nation. Just let me know. My email is dallas4059@gmail.com. That's dallas4059@gmail.com. Send me an email if you want to be a guest on our show on the Slim Nation, as well as Portsmouth Coffee Talk. But we're kind of have scheduled out there. We schedule in advance there, but with the Slim Nation just kind of starting with guests, let me know if you want to be a guest and what subject you might want to talk about on our one-on-ones or as a group on the Slim Nation YouTube page. But the one-on-ones will be on the Slim Nation 101 podcast, if that's not enough slims for you. But anyway, we want to thank you for joining me here, and stay tuned. And I got some new equipment, camera things that I'm going to take out there and use, motion cameras and things like that. It's going to help me when I go out there and just film some things on behalf of the Slim Nation, film people, or be at various events, or just being out there on the street, and hopefully people will be willing to just talk to me, or I can just show you some things in the city of Portsmouth and the surrounding Hampton roads. And we want to make sure we appeal to locally and nationally. So when you come to our page, or come to my page, Slim Nation, make sure you subscribe and like, and make your comments as well. It's important that, especially on the Slim Nation, I start getting those subscriptions up so I can do more videos, try to get to the point where I put something out there at least 2 or 3 times a week, and leading up to a point where we can have something daily. At least I might have to do 2 or 3 videos a day in order to make sure I put enough content out there for people to watch and be aware of the Slim Nation. So again, thank you. This is Slim Overton signing out from the Slim Nation. And remember, be aware, be informed, and most of all, be involved. Take care.